This is a very how can we say standard question in the last year or so. Can everybody see my screen and hear me? So say yay, because I just got yes, we can. Very well, very good. So good stuff. So welcome everyone. So today we are going to be celebrating our first birthday, which is great. Obviously, instead of having just a regular knees up, we've invited one of the top community professionals on the planet, Beth Beth McIntyre from CMX and Bevy, and we're going to be talking community, and we're going to talk a little bit about the CMX program, about CMX Istanbul, and obviously any other questions that you might have. So this is a short presentation for those who don't know what the CMX program is about and what obviously CMX Istanbul has done so far. So I hope this is informative. I try to keep it as short as possible, even though me and a short meeting in the same sentence, they really don't go that well. So what do we do? I mean, it's not only virtually these days, but hopefully in person as well, because they've just started. CMX Connect is this is very I'm really let's say excited, because I'm in the presence of the person who's actually leading the whole program globally. So I've got to be really careful in telling the right things. But CMX Connect is a global network of chapters of CMX, which is the leading community managers network and professionals in the world. And with the CMX Connect is the local chapter program, where we are talking about all things community in all corners around the world, even though the corners of the world didn't mean that much, especially in the light of what happened in the last couple of years. But previously, believe it or not, if anybody remembers, everything was in person. And this is when this program has actually started, and some pictures of people when they used to meet without, a second thought. So obviously, since things have started to go a little bit south, we've started doing our meetings virtually. And hey, we're on the Bevy platform. Things have gone really, really well, and this is where we are right now. So hopefully things will change. But we are actually virtually helping community professionals thrive as well. There are some guidelines. We'd love you to obviously to abide, but it's a volunteer community. So if you don't, it's okay. But these are the things that we expect from our listeners. Be sure your camera's turned on if you're speaking to someone. Close any distracting applications. Use the chat boxes on the right-hand side of the Bevy platform to ask questions and leave comments. Grab your favorite snack, drink, depends on what time it is. It's 7 p.m. where we are in Turkey. So I've got my Turkish tea. We're the largest or the #1 tea consuming country in the world, apparently. And obviously it's morning where you are, perhaps, just like we're the one in bed. So that means that you can get your coffee and just grab it and just, sit back and listen to us. More than 60 chapters, but it's all counting and growing. So we've got the right person to ask what the current situation is. But we've got chapters from all around the world. And thanks to the virtual platform, we're now able to broadcast to anyone. And that's why, we're actually broadcasting to India, to Canada, to all corners of the world, what we're actually talking about. And the common denominator is just community. Some goals: connect, learn, and advocate. Meet one awesome person. So I hope you already have. Get one actionable thing you can implement today, and that's to learn and to advocate. Grow the community industry. It's an industry that's booming and growing, and that's exactly what we're going to talk today. So just be an advocate for it. Why not? And let's go to Istanbul. So Napoleon said, if the world was one country, Istanbul would have been its capital. So this is the bridge, the first bridge constructed in the 70s. We've got 3 connecting two continents together. So it says Europe, but on the right-hand side of the screen, it is actually Asia. So it might be the other way around, because the skyscrapers are on the north of this picture. So you get the picture. It is a city which is founded on 2 continents, connected by bridges. So it is one of the most exciting places in the world. So we just thought, why not have a Connect chapter? So one night I was basically, just dreaming about it. I just, woke up in a puddle of sweat. My wife, who's a nutritionist, said, you shouldn't have eaten too much at dinner. You're not having nightmares. Obviously, it didn't happen. It's a nice story. But what happened was, the founder of the CMX, David Spinks. I actually met him at a Google event where I was a Google community manager. And then I had this idea of having a local chapter, and it turned out that there wasn't one in Istanbul. And then I connected with Beth, who's leading the program, and the rest is history. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Some goals. So we've got some goals in addition to the Connect goals, which you've just seen. These are the things that we've set ourselves. We want to be Turkey's leading platform on community management. We want to become the leading resource and network for all community managers, professional, novice, or candidate, and to be the first port of call for organizations looking for community professionals, and to advocate for community management as a profession. Why these goals? Because we are currently the only community of community professionals in Turkey. Community management is a new thing around the world, and it's Turkey. It's even more recent, more newer. So we just want to spearhead a few things, and obviously start a new things, bring some awareness in, and that's why we are here. You probably would like to follow us at this point. This is a snapshot of our Medium page. It is the only resource in Turkey that is producing community management material right now in Turkish, and we always try to keep it current. We try to put an article up every month. So if you would like to follow us, this is a many link where you can actually see all the social media channels and all the channels that we're existing. So you're able to follow us. So make note of that. We had some past events. We've actually had some really cool past events. They're little because I wanted to see them all in one page. We've actually had our first event in October. We were founded in September, and that's why we're having our first birthday. We had a cross-chapter collaboration with CMX Portugal, which connects Portugal, which is great. We've had Francisca from Germany. We've had Edu Giansante, who's leading the community at Wix. We've had Gamze Nurluoğlu, who's a local celebrity here about LinkedIn. And we've had the superstar of superstars. I still can't believe that we've hosted him, together with CMX Book Club, and that was John Bacon, His Highness Excellency Serenity, as His Royal Highness, whatever you want to call him. We've been, fortunate enough to be offered the possibility to contribute to the two big events that CMX held in the last year. One of them was Spark, the very first EMEA-focused community management conference, and we were able to contribute to that in various roles. And more recently, that was held just a few weeks back, and we can ask Beth about it. That's the CMX Rise Summit. It is the first hybrid summit that CMX held. Originally, it was in person, then it went virtual. And this was obviously the biggest event to date, and that was between August the 31st and September the 2nd. It was great. The recordings for both, they exist on CMX's YouTube channel. Go and watch them. They are an absolute bundle of information. It's us. Let's present us. We've got Esra and Özge, who's not going to be able to join us today. Obviously, the lightning doesn't strike twice, but it did. Unfortunately, they had things that they just couldn't postpone for today, even though they'd love to celebrate. A lot of last-minute things happened. So it's just me and Ceren flying the flag. We're all community professionals or community enthusiasts, people who are, very, very enthusiastic about community, and that's why we're here. And let's go back to our host, our guest today, Beth, who's going to be celebrating our first birthday today. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to be turning the camera or turning the limelight to Ceren to say hi. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. I'm good. I'm pretty good, and I'm so excited because maybe if you know, but let me explain for everyone. I'm pretty new in that community industry, and I'm pretty new in the CMX Istanbul community as well. I think it's been like 2 months something. So I'm so excited to be here today and with Beth as well. So I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be in the community and in this industry. And so here we are.
Fantastic. So that's just great. Absolutely great. So, Just for the benefit of our listeners, we're recording this and we're going to try and edit it out and put it on our own channel. We do have a YouTube channel as well. Because why is that? Because we are in the presence of a community superstar who's going to be talking a lot about community and how things are standing in the industry. And let's turn the entire limelight cluster to Beth McIntyre, Her Highness Excellency and Serenity, who's with us today from CMX and Bevy, where she leads the community efforts. How are you doing, Beth?
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here as well. I love when we do intros like this and everybody says how excited they are. Use the word excited like 12 times already in just 15 minutes. So that's how you know that this is going to be a really fun event.
Fantastic. That's just great. So Beth, as she was leading the CMX Connect program, she was the first person I met in the CMX world in person or virtually, so to speak. We were completely in two corners of the world, where she was on one side of Canada and I was in Turkey, obviously with nearly half a day apart us. So and then we decided to talk about and to start CMX Istanbul back in September last year. And obviously we had co-hosts joining and we've done so many exciting events. And today this is a great opportunity for us to say thank you to Beth for allowing us to set up this beautiful chapter here and supporting us throughout for the last year in doing all these great events and of course participating into the CMX's own global events, because they are massive community affairs where a lot of responsibilities around. So thank you for trusting us with that part of the organization, and thank you for allowing us to fly the CMX flag here in Turkey.
I don't think it's ever a question, because I remember that phone call or that first time you and I had a chat, Ilker, and there was not one doubt that I had in my entire body that you were very passionate about community, that you're excited to be associated with CMX, and that you had big plans to grow a big community over there. And I think one of the things that's most important about building a distributed events community like CMX Connect is that I don't know everything. And at some point, you obviously know Istanbul better than I do. You know Turkey better than I do. So at some point, I need to just let go and say, yes, I trust you. Please don't kill the baby. And then you made it just this really beautiful program, and it's been so exciting to see it grow.
Fantastic. So just one question. Can you tell us at what heights the CMX Connect program has reached in terms of chapters and hosts around the world? Because we always say it's more than 60 chapters, but you're getting lots of new applications in as well. So for anyone listening who's willing to start a chapter where they are, the chapter is accepting applications. So if there isn't one, you can actually apply to start where you are right now. So we just wanted to learn what's the current state of the CMX Connect program.
Well, I will say that the CMX Connect program kind of continues to change and adapt. I don't know if my internet is being a bit funny. I think I might be.
It's mostly fun.
Needs to change and adapt. Okay. And it's been, right when we started it, I had all these grand ideas, how it was going to be. The programs that I was looking at were Duolingo and Salesforce and Atlassian user group programs. And I mean, Duolingo program is like 600 chapters or something like that. So, and Startup Grind, 600 chapters around the world. So back then I was overwhelmed because how am I going to get there? How am I possibly going to grow a program with 600 chapters by myself? I quickly learned that you can't, that it's an entire team of people who run a community program like that. And every program is different. So, I really mirrored the CMX Connect program at the beginning to be similar to those Duolingos and Salesforce and Startup Grind, and quickly learned that wasn't going to work for us at CMX. And so, we went through iterations. We had different application processes. We have different training processes for hosts. The benefits and rewards have changed a lot as new hosts have come on and said, can I have this as well? Right now, and I will even say we're in the middle of a new iteration as well, because like Ilker said, our applications are open right now and they will be closing again because we're doing a new onboard with cohorts. So multiple hosts on board at the same time. In any event, yes, right now we actually have just over 80 hosts. And I don't know the number of how many countries we're in, but it's been really, really cool to see it grow. We're actually just launching in Australia as well for the first time. So we just added 3 new hosts in Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney who are working as a team to build a virtual chapter first and then start to spread out in person when they're able to. So things are changing, things are growing. And I think I really sometimes feel like I'm just along for the ride because I just follow the community wherever it leads me.
Fantastic! It's great that the program is now starting in Sydney and in the Down Unders, as they say in the UK. That's just great. So now basically that means that the CMX Connect is now properly in the 4 corners of the world. So one of the things that we obviously would like to hear from you is about the community industry. Especially, I mentioned in the beginning that we have some guests who would like to hear from you, community industry, because one of the cool things is Jaren is new, but I'm also kind of new because many of you people have been dealing with community management for so long, and that was before the recent growth or the explosion of community management as an industry, as a management practice. So now the industry is a mighty ecosystem of its own, and it's accelerated wildly by the online shift with pandemic, where everybody's trying to keep online communities floating. But obviously there was a big industry before, just it wasn't like this today. So can you tell us in broad lines how it was, how the pandemic changed things, and how do you see it now that everything is in limelight?
Okay, that's a really big question, and I will do my best to answer. I think I like to think that I have a really interesting kind of viewpoint of the industry because the community that I run is for community professionals. So the people that I'm closest with, the members that I work with every single day, they're in the trenches like me, in the community industry. They see what's going on with their own companies. They see what's going on with each other's companies. And I kind of get to see the whole thing unfold. So before the pandemic, I would say that some of the best companies in the world had switched on to community. Like I said, Salesforce, Startup Grind, Duolingo, these companies were building community before it was cool, because they realized that community-driven marketing or community-driven customer success was the way to exponentially grow your membership and grow who's using your product and grow the support that you're able to offer your customers. I think back then as well, like the word community was used in its purest form because not very many people knew what community was. I remember even going into like dinner parties back when we did that, and people asked me what I do for work. And, okay, well, first I have to describe the entire industry. Then I have to describe what my company does. Then I can tell you what I do for work. I feel like everyone in this audience and everyone who's listening has experienced that at some point in their career. But it was like I said, community was used in the truest sense of the word. It was that companies were investing in a space where their customers or advocates could get together in a space, whether it was in person or virtual, and have an organic conversation, about their product or about their brand or about something that they all have in common, like community professionals. So that was kind of that's what it was before. When the pandemic happened, I don't know if there's one person on the planet who didn't feel lonely at some point during the pandemic, especially in the beginning. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. I don't care what your job is. I think the pandemic was kind of, the great equalizer. It was something that every single one of us experienced. Having to stay home, having to stay inside, not seeing people you want to see. And so that loneliness feeling drove the importance or drove the reason that we needed to continue to build community. And I think that that's when it kind of exploded. And the word community started to mean so many different things. It almost kind of became a buzzword. I think a lot of companies were jumping on board and, especially the companies who were doing trade shows and big conferences in person. How are we going to do that again in a virtual world? They were realizing that instead of just a conference once a year in person, bringing people together to buy things, all of these people have something in common. So what if we built something around this that these people could come together, the other 11 months of the year as well, but online or, in a virtual event setting. So we saw this really big trend. I think a lot of communities had really struggled because the in-person aspect was kind of the whole thing. Moving to virtual events is very, very difficult. I saw that firsthand in some of our chapters. We did have a couple of chapters closed down, and obviously very sad. A lot of them are really excited to come back in person when that happens. So I don't take it as a loss. But a lot of communities were challenged during the pandemic, but a lot of communities totally thrived. More people started to engage, more people started to join. That almost like the desperation that came from the pandemic, it really just made people desperate to seek the engagement with other people and connections with other people in a meaningful way. Okay, where we're going. Well, I think that in order for community to not just be a flash in the pan or, a buzzword as it is, we need to build sustainable communities. So it's the idea, instead of a build and they will come, there has to be intention behind the community. There has to be who is this for? What do they get from joining? And why would they join in the first place? What problem are they trying to solve that this community is going to solve for them? And without those kind of initial questions, the rest of it just won't come. The rest of it just won't work. When you have that first mission statement, who is this for and what are we doing for them? The rest of it just follows. And I think that's how you build a sustainable community. And we have to do that so that the industry doesn't just disappear overnight after this is done. That was a long answer.
No, that was a great answer. Thank you very much. So, Jeren?
Yeah, So it surely is not the only pandemic that changed the perception of community as an industry, arguably, but the understanding of marketing and customer success has also drastically changed. Leaving the online shift aside, did you see the coming and what were the indicators?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. It was that the customer success community, the marketing community, it's that idea of the exponential growth. So community-driven marketing, okay, I'll start again. So if I'm going to buy running shoes, this is always the example I use. If I'm going to buy running shoes, I don't want Nike to tell me which running shoes to buy because they're biased. They don't know anything about me, and they will tell me to just buy Nike shoes. I'm probably going to go ask my friend who runs 5 kilometers every day and for 10 years, who's owned, 50 pairs of running shoes. I want to ask her what shoes she is running in. If she says Nike, okay, I'm going to try Nike shoes. So that is what we're talking about. These like user customer conversations that happen organically all the time. And what companies are doing is they're seeing those conversations and they want those to happen in a place that they own. So on a Nike forum, I, as an interested running shoe buyer, would say, I've never run before. What shoes should I buy? And someone else, a user of Nike shoes, not Nike, would organically tell me what they use. So this model is exactly what was happening before the pandemic. This is that magic that people started to see. This is when those numbers went up. And I think that the thing people don't really realize is that that like customer-driven marketing or customer-driven success, it's often driven by a very small team. So we talk about the CMX Connect community is over 60 chapters. I'm the only person who leads that. Obviously, we have a team of volunteers, so I'm not the only person involved, but I'm the only employee paid by my company to run this program. And the same thing can be said for, customer success communities or growth marketing communities. Like Duolingo, for 600 chapters, that was one person who was leading their entire community program. And you can imagine, I'm bad at math, but if each 600 of those chapters had only 5 people attend, that's so many people that one person, that one employee was able to reach. So the growth is just exponential. And I think that those were kind of those key indicators. People started to realize like, oh my gosh, this is a huge extension of my sales team. This is a huge extension of my customer success team. And you can't get that kind of growth without delegating and giving the microphone or the reins over to other people.
Cool. Because we are a nice small gathering right now, and it's quite candid, nice conversation. We actually have a question, if you don't mind, that I'd like to ask you, because it's pretty much related to the CMX Connect program and some of the challenges that you were talking about in the beginning. So Samantha is asking, what challenges have you come across while building communities across different countries, and how did you overcome them? I heard from one of my friends that platforms that we use to engage the community from country to country could be very challenging. Do we have any good global solution for this? So it's a great question, I think.
Absolutely. This is a very, very good question. And I know that you're not the only person who wonders this. I also wonder this because, like I said, the CMX Connect program is changing all the time. So CMX, some would tell you it's a global community. I would tell you it's like a wannabe global community because the CMX team is largely based, well, entirely based in North America, largely based in the States, except me. And our membership is global. We have people obviously from all over the world who are joining the CMX community. The majority of our membership is in the States. I think next it's like London or something, but the fact of the matter is like over 70% of CMX members are from the United States. But that doesn't mean we don't want to help the community professionals in other countries thrive. That's our mission. We want to make sure that you have access to resources and training and, you know, each other in all senses of the word. And so we do that a couple of different ways. You know, we have both asynchronous and synchronous. So asynchronous real time, that's like our Slack or Facebook group. These are like asynchronous are things that live outside of time zones. You can go onto Slack and ask a question, and anybody in the world could answer that question because it's happening at no given time, if that makes sense. Whereas synchronous events or synchronous spaces are like events. This is happening in real time. The time zone of this event does matter. People in Australia are not here because it's 3 a.m. for them. One of the ways that we've tried to make our reach more global is with the CMX Connect program. The idea of to passionate members of our community to build their own local communities in their own spaces. I mean, there's no way that I would be able to reach Turkey by myself. There's no way I would be able to reach Taiwan by myself. Language barriers, time zone barriers, all sorts of different things. So we rely on the CMX Connect hosts to do a lot of that for us. Ilker showed the blog that he writes. That's definitely one of the ways that we're able to move global and reach more people. I still know that we have a lot to do. You know, CMX Spark was kind of revelation for this. The first time we hosted an in-person, but like real-time conference in EMEA time zone. That was huge. I think that's going to become an annual event. You heard it here first. And then what's next? We need to do APAC. We need to maybe host a conference for everybody on the other side of the world so that we are truly reaching all of our members where they are. But you should join the conversation in the CMX community. There's a lot of people talking about this right now.
Fantastic. So definitely one of my the things that I was suggesting Anne-Marie as well. Anne-Marie is the events manager at CMX, to have a round the clock event. So imagine there's like a 3, 5, 8 hour shifts in 3 different times. So you have a 24-hour event, you know, led by 3 different teams that caters for everyone. So this is something that's not been, you know, it's been done. So it could be something quite interesting. But I think Jeren has a much more interesting question to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, community is now a career in its own right. Like I just started doing it, and we have a career roadmap that's developed and branched out so quickly with the growth of the industry. So broadly, what options are there for anyone wishing to move in or to climb the ladder? As now we see CCOs, board members. CCOs are board members.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's also a conversation that a lot of people are having in the CMX community and the industry as a whole. Because you're right, we're starting to see more and more executive level VP of community, chief community officer. We're starting to see more and more roles like this. I think as an industry, and this is where that advocate goal comes in for CMX Connect, because as an industry, our role titles, there's so little, I guess, there's no guidelines around what our role titles are. A community manager over here could be in charge of moderating a Facebook group, where a community manager over here is running 6 programs and building budgets and leading a team. even though the role is the same, or the title is the same, the role is not the same. So I think it's kind of up to us to start to define those roles. But I would say the number one way to move roles, to level up, to, you know, reach a higher title, if that's what you're looking for, is to prove the value of what you're already doing. So oftentimes I find people find themselves in this industry because they're good with people. I'm good at building relationships, making friends. So that's how you find yourself in the community industry, because you're just naturally really good at that. The thing that comes after that's equally as important is the ability to prove the value of those relationships to your organization. Obviously at CMX, we've got lots of frameworks to help you through this, but it can be really hard at first because the conversations you're having are social, and, you know, your empathy, and you're using, you know, you're connecting with people. So how do you turn around and say, well, this conversation was worth $100 to your organization? But you have to be able to do that. The community industry is still somewhat new. I would say it's like a teenager right now. It used to be a child, and nobody took it seriously. Now it's a teenager where it's like kind of going through puberty, and it's like, I don't know what I want to be. Nobody understands me. That's where we're at right now. And, you know, you have to be able to sit down and prove the value of what you're doing. Even though it might feel strange or might be difficult, proving the value is how you're going to start getting ahead.
Thank you. I think this is really difficult to decide because I know I want to be in the community industry, but I don't know which position is the best for me, and I don't know which position should I iterate myself, should I push myself to which position. So I'm just looking around and trying to learn new things, and I'm trying to decide which is the best for me. And I think this is really risky, because you're taking risk for a position, and you can able to do that, but you don't like that. You don't have to like that. And if you don't like that, you failed. So you're supposed to start or become. I don't know. This is really risky, but it's excited, by the way. I don't know.
Well, I think that is to not say fail, because you only fail at things you didn't try, you know, like that's the only time failure is a real thing. If you try something, you're not failing. And I would say so, and this is actually something I did when I was looking for work, because at the time I also didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know what I'm good at. I know what I wanted out of a job. I knew what kind of company I wanted to work for, but I didn't really know what it would be called. So what I started doing was going to different job boards, looking at different postings and writing down all of the requirements that I liked. So, you know, this is what you're going to be working on. You're going to be talking to people all the time. You're going to be writing emails. You're going to be writing blog posts. You're going to be in charge of, you know, connecting people at events. I was like, okay, this job description says this, I like this. This job description says this, I like this. So I kind of built my own job description. And I was like, okay, what is this going to be called? Then when I stumbled upon the job opening at Bevy, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted. And, you know, at CMX, we do have the CMX job board. And that's a really great way to just even, you know, look at what's out there, look at what people are asking for, to see if any of it is of interest to you. And then, I mean, at some point, you're going to have to just dive right in and see if it works out.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, it's just fantastic that we're actually talking about. I presume, you know, a few years ago, having a community management career ladder wasn't even a question. It was more like, you know, trying to find a space to fit in inside inside a marketing or a customer success team. But now, obviously, it has a silo of its own right, Not that we want it to stay as a silo, but we do have chief community officers, sitting in the ballroom, talking about the value of the community, which is where I want to get to. So the value of the community, the big elephant in the room that we just don't want to talk about, these days in the industry anyhow. So it's what we affectionately refer to in the industry as return on investment, the ROI. Whereas, we could just define it externally as the value that the community would be bringing to a company. So let's say there's a company who would like to start a community and they want to learn more, they want to understand, they get a grasp on return on investment. And I believe that you're one of the best people to ask. So just in general terms, how would you define it broadly? And have there been any changes since because the community management has catapulted into the limelight in the last few years? And how do you measure it? Obviously, as much as you would like to divulge at CMX, the value of the community that we're in.
Sure. Well, I have an answer that everyone's going to hate, because there is no answer to how do you prove the value of community. There's no one answer. I can't tell you the metric that you need to track, because it's different for every single program and every single community there is out there. At CMX, we have frameworks that help us kind of teach this out and teach you how to find the value of your own community. And we do that through 3 different kind of levels. So the first is the business level, then there's community level, and the tactical level. So the business level of your community is what is the business's goals that you are solving for. We have a framework called the Spaces model, which I'm pretty sure is on your blog right, Ilker? I think you've rewritten the Spaces model. Yeah. And so you basically, with the Spaces model, you pick a letter. For example, A for acquisition. The main business goal for an acquisition community is to drive sales to the organization. E, for example, is engagement. And the main goal around that is to drive engagement within the industry so that more and more people recognize your brand, more and more people know what the industry is, and you're just kind of spreading the word and giving people a space to engage around a common topic. So that's business level. Community level is what are the programs that you're going to implement in order to reach that business goal. So for an acquisition community, are you going to have an online forum where anybody can join? They end up having conversations. Maybe a customer is in there. They talk to a person who could use your product. And next thing you know, that person is also going to look at using this product. Maybe you have events, an event program. And maybe at that event program, you use the program or the platform that you're selling. Perhaps people join the event and they say, wow, this platform is so cool. I want to use this platform for my events. Maybe that program would work. So that's community level. And then the tactical level is going to do to make your programs successful. So an event program, how are you going to run that? Who are you going to put in place to help you run that? How are you going to measure the goals and success of that program itself? So those are the 3 kind of levels. And I don't know if you noticed, but all of my examples while I was talking about that match the CMX community. I'm very happy and very open with talking about our goals and our metrics, because at CMX, our mission is to help community professionals thrive. And we don't really do anything at CMX without turning around and then telling people how we did it. An example of that is tomorrow, we are posting our blog about CMX Summit, and like everything that went into the planning, how we made decisions, all of your feedback, all the numbers that came in the survey. So like, we always turn around and say, this is how you could do it too. In any event, at CMX, we are primarily an A and an E community. So acquisition and engagement. Acquisition, we help drive sales and leads to Bevy, which is our virtual events platform. And E, we are building the industry. We are, I would say, one of the biggest voices, one of the biggest networks of professionals in this industry. We host an awards program that reaches the world. We host our conference. We've got training programs. So we offer a lot for community professionals to engage and to grow the industry. So some of the metrics that we track on the acquisition side: leads sourced, how many people come through our doors and then end up as a lead for a Bevy platform. And then how many customers are also using the CMX community? How many customers do we have in the CMX community that then go and renew their contracts? How many dollars are we helping influence for Bevy through our programs at CMX? And then, of course, engagement metrics that we use are how many people are nominating someone for the Community Industry Awards? How many new people joined the community from Summit? It was like 162 people join our community after Summit. How many people are posting in our community? What's our NPS in our community? Are people happy and satisfied with it? So we have a lot of different metrics. But I will say my last thing on metrics is that me and Diane, who runs our engagement in Facebook and Slack, we track everything. We have spreadsheets and dashboards coming out of every corner that have every number you could possibly need to know about all of our programs. But we don't report on all of those. Those dashboards are kind of that tactical level strategy. We say, okay, last week we had more people post, but this week we had more comments and reactions. What do you think that means? So her and I can have that conversation. When we report up to David Spinks, who's our VP, we choose some different metrics from there to report on because we have to tell him a very specific story. Then when we go and report to our COO, Todd, we tell a completely different story again because Todd doesn't really care how many reactions this post got. He cares about the bigger level, the higher level metrics. So David Spinks always says, data is nothing without story, and story is nothing without data. So you have to have the metrics, you have to tell the story about why they're important. And that story changes with everyone you tell.
Fantastic. That's such a nice, a summary and a great answer to that question. It's really, really important, and thank you for being so open in sharing how you perceive the value at CMX. Because, as you said, it's very important, and it's an example that we follow in the industry. So many of the things in the community industry. Maybe not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same in other fields in management anyway, with the exception of development, because I'm a DevRel person. Here at in the community industry, we do things collectively. We try and help each other. We try and share information with each other, because it was a recent podcast with David Spinks and Brian Oblinger. They were talking about many of the things they just made them up, but in the nicest sense of words. We know they just actually constructed on the experience of other people who actually did things in the community space. So this is how we collectively ended up with the wealth of information that we have at CMX. And I know that CMX is very, very keen on sharing these things on the blog, and even the blogs are collectively written. And we are able to, lift many of the things and just, turn them into an article in Turkish, perhaps, for those who don't speak English. So it's great that this same collective spirit is also apparent in the tracking as well of the community activities at CMX. So I've got one last question. By the way, thank you for the engagement. Doesn't matter. It's a small group. It's a quality group where there's a lot of things going on. People are just listening and finding this very useful. Please make sure that you are using Q&A tab just like one of our guests did before, to ask a question, because we are actually nearing the end of our conversation with Beth. So this is your one and only chance to ask the questions, so to speak. But we've got one last question that we previously had in our minds and we would like to ask. You were talking about the events at CMX. So one cool thing about the CMX Summit, the Rise Summit that we partook, was that it was a hybrid event. It's a mythical thing that everybody was talking about, being such hybrid and stuff. So we just wanted to know, what do you think of the hybrid events? How it went, first of all? Were there any lessons that you would like to share? Because it looks like, even though things are looking better, thankfully, around the world, hybrid is here to stay, because the need was there before for people to be able to reach events on the other side of the world, regardless of whether there was a pandemic or not. So what can you share us, being such a center of things happening around this great hybrid event, which we believe that it went really successfully?
Yeah, well, I would agree. I think it was very successful. We broke every record CMX Summit has ever had with attendees, with global representation as well of our attendees, the diversity on our stage, our NPS, our survey responses. We broke every record we had. So Anne-Marie is definitely, we're all proud of the incredible work she did. I think you're right. Hybrid is not going anywhere. If there's one thing that, having to move virtual taught us, is that there are a lot of people around the world that want access to what you're doing and they can't travel. And that could be they can't travel, across the States. They can't travel across the world. Maybe it's accessibility. Maybe they're unable to travel. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's time. They can't take time off work or time away from their families. Maybe it's something like visa, like border laws. Some people can't enter the States to come to CMX Summit. So when we did CMX Summit 2020, which was our first virtual conference, people who've been in the CMX community for years and are based in Iran or other countries like that attended CMX Summit for the first time in their lives because it was virtual, not because they didn't try before. So I think that by moving to virtual, we all of a sudden saw there's this whole accessibility piece that nobody's even considered during in-person events. So I think you're right. There will always be a virtual component. We had 99 countries in attendance this year. People from 99 countries came to CMX Summit 2021. That just doesn't happen in person. So there will always be a virtual component of CMX events moving forward. The hybrid thing, you're right. It's a conversation everyone's having. Nobody has the right answer. Everyone's doing something different. Some people are doing a main stage is in person with 200 attendees, and then they're broadcasting that to the world. Others, are doing stages around the world, and then they're broadcasting that. We decided to really dive into the CMX Connect format and do one virtual conference and then watch parties around the world that were small in-person events where you could actually tune in and watch CMX Summit live if time zones worked. If they didn't work, people were having networking parties as well around CMX Summit. So that is the kind of thing I could see us doing again moving forward, that virtual conference, perhaps a live stage somewhere. But those watch parties, I think, were very special. And like you said, Ilker, it's a small group, but it's a quality group. And the conversations, the pictures that we saw from some of those events around the world, just reminded us why we're here, why we're doing this. And that CMXers around the world want to meet up. And who are we to stop them?
That is so cool. So, and with that, I think we are pretty much at the end of the allocated time for us. So, just one, just one, quick fire question, which that came to my mind. 2022, it really gives me the chills because the time passes so quickly. Is what, 4 months away, maybe, which is so crazy. What comes to your mind when you're trying to forecast 2022? What do you think will happen?
I don't have any idea. I think, okay, so at CMX Summit, Chris Land, who's the Senior VP of Community and Marketing at Salesforce, spoke with Derek Anderson, who's our CEO at Bevy, and he asked her, she's sales, and he said, what can sailing teach us about community? And she said, you have to go with the flow. You can't fight the tide. You can't fight the wind. You might have an idea of where you want the boat to go, where you want to drive your ship, but if the wind changes, if the tide changes, you just have to go with it and you have to adapt. So even if I had an answer for you, where I saw CMX going, where I saw the industry going, where I saw, community as a whole going, you have to prepare for all of those ideas to just fly out the window because you never know what's around the corner. All you can do is trust your members and listen to what they need, and then try to make that work.
There's something that I came across recently. Probably you knew this already, or you may know this the saying, but there was a saying by Margaret Wheatley saying, "Whatever the problem, community is the answer," which I absolutely love that, and I've even put it on my website. But Beth, that's been great. So, Jaran, would you like to say something as we close the show?
I'm so happy that we had this event because there was a lot of answers for me, especially the metrics and the positions. There were the top questions of my mind lately. So thank you so much. It's been great to be here with you. Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
And Beth actually promised to be with us in our first birthday, and I'm so grateful that she had the opportunity to do so. Also, thank you for taking the time to be with us, and to our listeners, it sounds like a radio show. So from CMX Connect Istanbul Radio. 93.7, it doesn't exist. Thank you for listening. It was a great conversation. It was indeed, and thank you to everyone. But obviously, most of all, thank you to Beth. So would you like to say something as we close the show?
Sure. I just thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you both and your whole team for all of the work you're doing to build a CMX community in Turkey. It's so cool to see it grow, and I've loved watching it grow over the last year. So happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And menilink.co/@CMX Istanbul is where you can actually find where we live online. So we are now going to be going over and out in the next minute. And thank you for watching. I hope that you really liked it. It was a great conversation that flowed very, very nicely, in my opinion. Beth, thank you for sharing all your wisdom and your thoughts about community. Jaran, thanks for being here. Thanks for being such an awesome co-host, and obviously the other two co-hosts that we have as well, although they're not here today. Thanks for watching, and we are now turning off the lights in the next minute or so. So Elvis is going to be leaving the building, so to speak. And we hope to see you very soon at another CMX Connect Istanbul event. So all the very best to everyone, and have a great day, evening, morning, where you are.
Thank you. Bye-bye.